Welcome to the Open Mic, where bold stories spark big conversations.
Hey, everyone.
So today, we're diving into something really quite special. One of our listeners, actually sent us this fantastic article.
Yeah, it was written by Krystelle Dsouza.
Exactly. And it's about this gentleman, Dr. Bankey Lal Sharma, who's 95 years old. And honestly, it resonated so much, we just felt we had to share it and, well, unpack it a bit with all of you.
It really did. I think what grabbed me immediately reading about Dr. Sharma was just his sheer vitality at 95.
Right.
And this deep dive, it feels like more than just looking at one person's life. It's a chance to, explore some big questions.
Like how to live long, how to live well, maybe without regrets.
Precisely. We're hoping to pull out some, let's say, practical wisdom here, things you might actually think about for your own life.
Absolutely. And Dsouza's article, it paints such a vivid picture. She calls him her most enthusiastic protagonist of all time.
Yeah.
That's quite a statement.
It really is.
Imagine, he's 95, up before dawn, doing breathing exercises, even ironing his own clothes for the interview.
Incredible.
And Dsouza writes that just moments into talking with him, she was struck by his, self-assuredness, his real enjoyment of life. That really comes across.
It does. Although it's also interesting, she notes he felt a little bit shy about the interview itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which kind of hints at maybe a humility there, beneath the enthusiasm, but also clearly a willingness to share what he's learned over almost a century.
Okay, so let's get to the core of it. Dsouza asks him, the big question, what's the secret to his longevity?
And his answer, it sounds simple on the surface.
I've never skipped a day of meditation for as long as I can remember.
Simple, but wow, that's profound commitment, isn't it? We're talking decades.
Decades. And his actual approach to meditation, it sounds surprisingly accessible.
Very much so. He says it's not about reaching some, mystical state.
Right.
For him, it's fundamentally just sitting and breathing. That's the core.
He does talk about the distractions, though, which I think everyone can relate to.
Oh, absolutely. The mind wandering off.
Yeah, like what's for lunch, or did I lock the door? Those thoughts that just pop in. But his advice is basically to consciously try to ignore them, gently, just for that period.
To acknowledge they're there, but not get swept away. He says, remind yourself the world keeps turning, but right now your focus is internal.
That kind of mental discipline. It's tough.
Yeah.
But valuable.
It is. And importantly, he says, don't get frustrated when your mind does wander, because it will.
Okay.
It's more about the gentle redirection, bringing the focus back again and again. Less about a totally blank mind, more about practicing attention.
Then he brings up this other concept, swadhyaya, self-study.
Yes, as a way to deepen the meditation.
That really clicked for me. He describes it as looking impartially at your own thoughts, your conscience, attitudes, perceptions.
Both the good and the not so good parts.
Exactly. So meditation for him isn't just passive stillness, it's active self-reflection too. Real personal growth.
That's a key distinction, I think. Using that quiet time for honest introspection, observing your inner world, but without judgment. That's how you gain self-awareness, see patterns.
And it seems to work. His granddaughter-in-law, Monica Segal-Soler, she's mentioned as his pranayama buddy.
Right. And she apparently really admires his contentment, his lack of regrets, which says a lot about the outcome of these practices.
Yeah, that lack of regrets is powerful. But, speaking of contentment, he was also really open about loneliness.
Especially after retirement and after his wife passed away.
Which is something so many people face. It's universal. But his perspective was different.
Very direct. He acknowledged the grief, absolutely. But he also stressed not sort of sinking into despair.
And he said something quite profound. There is no formula to fix loneliness.
Right. No quick fix. Instead, he talked about cultivating your inner life, about being your best company.
That's such a useful way to think about it, isn't it? For anyone listening who maybe goes through periods of solitude, he even suggested loneliness could be reframed.
As an opportunity. A blessing, he called it.
Yeah, for deeper self-exploration. It's about shifting how we see those quiet times.
It really encourages developing that rich inner world, so even when you're physically alone, you feel connected within yourself. It's not antisocial, it's about inner peace.
And his life wasn't just internal, of course. His 95 years span so much history.
Oh, definitely. He talks about being there for Nehru's first address after India's independence.
Wow.
And visiting Birla House right after Gandhi's assassination. These huge historical moments were part of his actual life.
It really grounds his experiences, doesn't it? It reminds you that individual lives happen against these massive backdrops.
And his own early life. Growing up in poverty in Uttar Pradesh before independence. That really highlights the challenges he overcame.
Absolutely. Widespread illiteracy, few opportunities. Poverty was just the norm, he said.
But for him, witnessing that hardship wasn't passive.
No, it fueled him. It made him determined to get an education, to find a different path.
And what a path it was, walking miles to school.
Being known as the boy who studies, then later, the boy who teaches.
And going on to get multiple advanced degrees, it shows such proactivity, a real lifelong commitment to learning and self-improvement.
And thinking about all that change he's seen, his view on happiness is interesting. He doesn't buy into the whole simpler times were happier idea.
Not necessarily, no. He seems to feel that happiness is more fundamental. It's a choice.
A choice you make now, in the present.
That's a really powerful message, I think, that a resilient mind is key. Finding happiness, whatever the circumstances.
And he actually credits his tougher childhood, being closer to the land in a rural setting, for building some of that resilience, both physical and mental.
Makes sense. So, okay, moving on from the deep stuff for a second. Diet. Was there some magic longevity diet?
You think so, right?
Or what?
But no. Apparently, Dr. Sharma eats everything. He even enjoys burgers.
Huh. Okay, so not some restrictive plan then.
Not at all. His focus seems less on, feeding the body in a specific way and much more on feeding the mind.
Oh, okay. How so?
By surrounding himself with the work of, as he puts it, real wise people. Not just media figures, but genuinely insightful thinkers.
That connects back to the Swadhyaya, the self-study, doesn't it? That lifelong learning focus.
And it really does. And he has a balanced view on modern life too, like technology.
Oh, how does he handle that?
Well, he uses a smartphone, but he's conscious about it. He asks himself this question regularly. What would I be doing if I weren't using my phone right now?
And then he does that other thing.
And then he does it. It's a simple, practical tip for mindful tech use. Something anyone can try, really.
It's about being intentional with your time and attention, not just letting tech take over. It fits his whole philosophy of conscious living.
So after all this life, all this experience, what does he boil it down to? His core secret to happiness at 95.
The article shares his 4 pillars, right?
Yes. And they are surprisingly simple, yet profound.
Let's hear them.
Okay. Be happy in others' happiness. Be sad in their sadness. Be amazed at their talents. And ignore their faults.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's so practical.
Is it?
It's all about empathy, appreciation, acceptance, shifting the focus from just my happiness to a more connected, compassionate way of being in the world.
It really makes you stop and think. It's not about complicated strategies or huge achievements. It's about these basic, fundamental ways we relate to each other.
Exactly. And maybe that straightforwardness, that simplicity, maybe that's the deepest wisdom of all.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Open Mic, where bold stories like Dr. Bankey Lal Sharma's continue to spark big conversations.
We're deeply grateful to our listener for sharing Krystelle Dsouza's inspiring article about a 95-year-old life filled with wisdom and no regrets.
Let's carry his lessons of meditation, resilience, and inner peace with us. Join us next time for more thought-provoking tales, and feel free to send your own stories to theopenmicpodcasts@gmail.com. Until then, stay inspired and connected.